Well, this is quite something. I don't think I've ever seen this much bickering over a game that was this cut and dry. Bruins lose 7-2 against the LA Kings. Welcome back down into the den, everybody. Obviously, there are some conversations to be had about the locker room, given comments that were made after the game by Zadorov and how people have interpreted them. But before we get into that, before we get into the questionable comments, I need you all to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And click the notification bell down below. We're almost at 90 subscribers. Would love to get to 100 before the end of the season. Just saying. And let's get this going. If there were any games in this road trip other than the Vegas game that I expected the Bruins to lose in, it's here. And that is why I'm not too upset over this loss. You lost 7-2 to one of the best teams in the West, while you are one of the worst teams in the entire league. I don't see how this is a game to get really, really upset about. It was vintage Bruins, except for the end. And look, it was vintage Bruins. Get out to a really good start with a goal less than a minute into the game. Give up a goal in the last 2 minutes of a period. Hello, Ty Anderson's notepad. Take stupid penalties. Morgan Geekie gets a goal. And let the game just fall away from you after that. If you thought that this game was going to go any other way than the Kings winning, I don't know what to tell you. Other than watch the games. The Kings this year have been really good. Alex Turcotte has finally kicked it into second gear after years of me waiting for him to actually show up. Quentin Byfield is one of the best young players in the league. They have their triple AK line of Andrei Kuzmenko, Adrian Kempe, and Anze Kopitar is deadly. Their defense is also not that bad. Drew Doughty is still one of the best defensemen in the league. But even still, this is one that warrants a conversation, not necessarily about the whole of the game. This game can be boiled down to one singular moment. And we all know which one it is. We all know which moment this game boils down to. Near the back third of the second period, the Kings, particularly Tanner Jeannot, are kind of messing with Husnudinov a lot. They're tussling with him, trying to get him to snap. At one point, remember that time that Calle Rosen led Nazem Kadri into Jordan Binnington? Binnington got hurt and was out for the rest of that series. This was in the 2022 playoffs. The one where after Colorado proceeds to wipe the floor with the Blues after this series, they go on to win the Stanley Cup. But remember that play when Rosen nudged Kadri into Binnington, and that was a whole to-do? That was basically this. Jeannot nudged Hootsie into a path where he was going to collide with Darcy Kemper. Kemper takes severe umbrage to that and gives Husnudinov what for. And Swayman, he comes out to the middle of the ice. Over here, smartass. And okay. I have thoughts about this, but I don't want to sound like a party pooper. So I'm not going to be one. At least not yet. This fight should have happened. This fight absolutely should have happened. Jeremy Swayman, they don't call him Bulldog for nothing. The dude wants to be let off his leash, and he is growling. He wants all the smoke. And he's tried so many times to get the smoke. And the league just doesn't want goalie fights anymore. For some reason, even though everybody was going crazy when Marc-Andre Fleury tried to beat the hell out of Jordan Binnington. And what's worse is that Kemper clearly wanted it too. He wanted the smoke. Like, at that point, just let him fight. It's like that myth of consent meme of, I consent, I don't. If I'm allowed to be vulgar, which I am, this is my channel after all, the refs were complete cock blocks for this. This was stupid. You should have let the two of them go at each other. Now that I've got that out of my system, I have one very important question for you, Swayman. What are you doing? I know. I know. He sees Husnudinov getting bullied around a little bit, and he wants to go in and stick up for his guy. You are already not having a good game, and you proceed to let in 4 unanswered after this. Granted, Boston loves to put all the blame on the goaltenders. And this is one where Swayman definitely deserves some. And even though I have been a staunch defender of Jeremy Swayman for this entire season, I would be remiss if I said that there weren't any circumstances in which it is okay to criticize a goaltender first and foremost. And one of those instances is when you give up 7 goals on 23 shots. Get a grip. Find a map. Something. Freaking biohack a chip into your brain that makes it so that you play goalie properly. Something. Anything. Where you are not giving up 7 goals on 23 shots! And now we have to talk about the postgame. That was a short game recap. What was there really to recap? Zadorov was asked a question about whether or not the team appreciated Swayman trying to stick up for Husnudinov. And this was his response.
You guys appreciate that Jeremy stuck up for Husnudinov?
Is that what it is?
Look like it.
Okay. I don't know. No comment.
I feel like there are 2 ways to really interpret this, and both of them have some truth to them, but neither of them are 100% true. Both of them are also valid. Both of them are also valid ways to take this. But again, I think that there is some truth that is being lost. Zadorov replies to this with shock that this was the narrative, and frustration followed by no comment. People have taken this to mean that Swayman doesn't really have the locker room. And this is definitely something that I understand why it's being said. You cannot act as though Jeremy Swayman holding out for as long as he did was not, to some extent, detrimental to the betterment of the team. Because it absolutely was. It absolutely was. Swayman holding out for the entire offseason. I think he got signed like right before the season started. So he was also missing key time in practice and in preseason games that he could have used to get acquainted to the new additions to the roster. I can understand why some take this to mean that Swayman is not liked in the locker room. And while on the one hand I can understand this perspective, on the other hand, it's hard for me to take this perspective all that seriously. People have been wanting Swayman gone since he got out to a slow start and never recovered. It's 1 season out of 8. And yes, I know, because season 1 of 8 is the only season that we have seen so far of this contract, we cannot judge how seasons 2 through 8 are going to transpire. We only have season 1 to go off of, and season 1 to base the rest of the contract off of. If you think that Jeremy Swayman is in a future with McAvoy and Lindholm in front of him, if you think that he is going to continue to put up sub-900 numbers through all 7 remaining years of this contract, I truly think that you just want to find reasons to hate Swayman. I'm not saying that those reasons aren't valid. I think that this game was one of the worst that Swayman has ever had, but at the same time, let's pump the brakes, at least a little bit. And I will mention again that Sergei Bobrovsky, in the first year of his contract, which is, mind you, $1.5 million more per year than Swayman's, in the first year of his contract, he was also pitching 900. He was doing bad, and people thought that the contract was going to age like milk left out in the frickin' Mojave. But no, he turned it around, and he won the freaking Stanley Cup. I think that is being lost on people. That, yes, Swayman has sucked this year, and we are right to criticize him for being bad at his job this year. But to assert that this is going to be the way that the rest of the contract is going to play out, no, not even remotely. People saying that we got rid of the wrong goalie. Yes, maybe. Maybe we got rid of the wrong goalie. But if we were going to give the same contract to Ullmark and let Swayman walk in free agency, we'd have Ullmark on for probably 6 or 7 years. And given the fact that Ullmark is 31, how long would that have taken us into his career? And better yet, when do you think the wheels would have fallen off? Swayman? He's still young. He's still sub 27. You could absolutely right the ship with him. You're really not going to give him a chance after this season? Piss off with that. Now, the other perspective is that don't put too much stock into this because the whole team is frustrated because the whole team sucks. Yes. Yes. That's true. Swayman, awful. Defense, awful. Offense, you only had 1 shot on goal throughout the entire third period. You had 13 shots on goal throughout the entire game. Another one where just not showing up. I can understand why this game was so difficult for Swayman. And I can understand why people are saying, don't put too much stock on this. Everybody is pissed. The season doesn't matter anymore. Let's just call it a game. Let's just bring out our dad and get ready for next season. I can understand why people are saying that. You can't necessarily take away the fact that your $8.5 million goaltender gave up 7 goals on 23 shots. We're not just going to up and forget that because, oh, the whole team sucks right now. At some point, whether you love him or hate him, Jeremy Swayman needs to play up to his contract. $8.5 million is not something that you pay a guy to have a save percentage of .696 at any point. I don't care if you don't have McAvoy or Lindholm in front of you. Good goaltenders make these saves. You a good goaltender, Swayman? I was sure you were. Can you reaffirm that, please? Please. Ultimately, yes, this is a fractured team. And yes, the players might be scuffling with each other in the locker room. And I think that there might be some animosity towards Swayman. But really, I cannot conceptualize this in my head as anything more than just a lost season. Yeah, you got Lysell up right now. And I think that putting Casey Middlestat in the top line, that actually looked pretty nifty. There are some decent ideas on this team. But let's not kid ourselves. You can't be looking at the score sheet for these games. There's only 10 games left in the season. The season ends in the middle of April. We don't need to worry about the score for these last 10 games. All you need to do is just pay attention to the on-ice product. And all I asked for was effort. And what has this team done? Given me 1 shot on goal in the third period. Got into a meaningless fight that ended up doing nothing. And giving up 4 unanswered afterwards. And a head coach that is more terrified of his own shadow than I have ever seen a head coach. I don't think that this team needs to try to win over the last 10. I think that this team needs to try and look good. And that I think is an important distinction. And that is going to be it for me tonight. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.